always wondered this, Holly, and it just came to me too, because you were a fighter, and I find it the most interesting thing with female fighters. How is it dating as a female fighter when you were active? Like, was it hard? Like, was it hard meeting men? Were you too intimidating? Like, how is it dating a female fighter?
Well, I don't know because I don't date women, but
Well, I meant,
about that.
yeah, no, but I meant like, men, the men that you went out with
I
when you were an active fighter.
Yeah, which is like a whole other thing because I really wanted to fight again this year. That was one of my things, and this has
Yeah.
been derailed, and I feel some kind of way about that. I am told that I am intimidating. I refuse to believe this. But I think sometimes it could be a little tough. I tend to gravitate towards a certain type of man that is secure. I tend to date like quiet alpha men, so they're generally like very successful, and then they don't need to be showy. So then me being in the limelight or in public or fighting is never a thing to them. It's always, it's cool, right? I think the only reason you, as a man, you would feel weird about dating a female fighter is if you are insecure in some way about your place in the world or like your manhood in some, and by manhood I just mean like your being in some way, shape, or form. Also, I'm not like physically aggressive. I'm a loud mouth, but I'm not even a loud mouth. I'm a smart mouth, but I'm not loud and aggressive. So I don't think that's ever really been an issue for me. But I definitely, I don't really tell people anymore at first. Because I found that it like, there's certain assumptions. And then the other thing is when people can just like find a bunch of stuff about you online, it's sometimes I kind of just, you don't get my last name at first, and I'm not going to tell you what I do. I'm going to tell you to do something like, because I don't want to have to explain that right away. And I don't want that to be the basis of something. Right. I think it could be tough. I think there's a lot of assumptions about and kind of maybe misconceptions in certain ways about female fighters.
Is it hard meeting people?
I don't know. Is it hard for anyone? I say it's hard for me, but my friends all swear that it's just because I'm oblivious.
Yeah.
So.
Well, because like, the life of the fighter is a very lonely life, because you're very busy. You got your training camps, you got, your media stuff, and then, your fight weeks and all that. So, how does that like factor in, or did it factor in at all when you were dating somebody during that time?
Yeah, it could, but when I was like really active professionally, most of the time I was in a relationship kind of on and off, and then and so that was just there. Yeah, it can be. It definitely can be. I mean, boxing it's a solitary thing, right? It's running and it's that. But hopefully people find ways to like have their own space, but you also don't want to be distracted, right? So the other thing is like, as a fighter, you don't want to be distracted with thinking about a new relationship while you're getting ready for a fight. That could definitely be not great for you and your focus, depending on how like dialed in you are. I think women by nature, and I mean, scientifically, this is proven actually. So women multitask better than men though. So you're used to juggling a bunch of things and having to figure out what's primary and what's most important and deal with that. I think women do that. And that's biologically, that's because women, had to give birth and rear children while performing other tasks. And men generally were providing and hunting, gathering, whatever. So women tend to multitask. But I think most female fighters know how to like turn off the fighter side and then just let the rest of you exist.
Okay, because yeah, that's the other thing I would think like a lot of people would be wondering is like when you're dating somebody, like, are you the alpha in the relationship, or like the aggressive one in the relationship?
I mean, I think that is completely a personal, person to person, fighter to fighter. I think you see some women out there and you know that for sure they are the alpha in the relationship. But you know, I think that's a person to person thing. For me, I don't work well with, I can't have a dude that I'm gonna run all over. That just, I'm not gonna respect you, and then it's just not, that's not the thing. So for me, it doesn't work. But again, I also don't like a dude that I'm gonna like butt heads with aggressively either. You know,
They say for the male boxers, a lot of them, that old school thought of like no sex during camp to save off testosterone. Necessarily, does that apply to women too? Like, were you of that?
no, it's supposed to be the opposite.
Yeah.
I mean, I did, just because I'm like, my trainer's old school and that's what we do. But biologically, again, women, there's something about elevated testosterone when you do have sexual activity. So for women, it can be beneficial as opposed to for men, right? Obviously, you probably don't want to be doing it the day before a fight, or for me, sparring or whatever, but like, you don't want to be drained, but I think it doesn't have as many adverse effects for women.
You felt it helps women?
Well, you have an elevated testosterone level for a certain amount of time post that. And so that's why after sex, women will like get up and go do things and men are like asleep.
Is
right?
that why? Is that?
It's one of the reasons. Yeah.
Really?
So women have it. Yeah.
I never knew that, but I always found that kind of odd. Yeah. That like, why do you have so much energy right now? Like,
That's a thing.
wow.
There's a whole biological hardwiring there.
I did not know that. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Okay. Well, then I could see it as to, you know, why it would work on that side. But a lot of people feel it's not even a thing. I've spoken to a lot of fighters who are like, that's not true, you know?
No, and they might not know why, but that's why it's not true.
Yeah. You know, with that too, you know, post a fighter career and dating too, you mentioned you want to avoid them getting intimidated by you because of what you accomplish, and you know, I could see some guys being like, oh, you know, like, dang, you know, like she's done all this, and like, well, what have I done, you know? How do you navigate that?
I mean, that might be part of my issue. Like, part of my thing is, I think also when people figure out that I am a boxer and also what I do for a living and the world I live in, I think there's a lot of assumptions about like what I would find attractive or what I look for in a man. And like, the truth of the matter is that like, my least favorite dude is a meathead. So I don't date like,
I
don't date gym bros. Like, I don't date gym
think
bros.
a female
That's
fighter
not
would
my
like an athletic, super alpha type guy, you know?
It'd be cool if you want to go to the gym with me sometimes and we go and do our separate workouts. Totally cool. I love that. If you have a thing that you're into, if you play baseball and you play on a rec team, dope. I'm going to come to your games. Like, I love that. If you don't do any of those things, also cool. Like, for me, I like cerebral, intelligent artists. So that's like my thing. And that's what I care about predominantly. So it's like, the physicality is secondary. And the truth of the matter is like, I don't want to date some gym bro who's just like, I mean, I also have issues with the whole like wellness, fitness industry in general. I don't like the dynamic of it and stuff. So that kind of archetype doesn't work for me. I think that's one thing. I think that is probably like the main thing that the misconception from men is like, that's what I'd be interested in, because it's not at all. And then, I don't know, it's tough. It's like I think that's probably the main thing for me. Right. I don't think you've met me in person. Like, I'm pretty open. I'm like, I get along with most people. I talk a lot of shit, but like I like to talk about sports and books and art and politics, and you know, I make it a point to be, not make it a point, like I'm pretty well read. I read a lot more. I don't watch a ton of television, so I read a lot. So I tend to like lean towards cerebral as opposed to physical.
Well, that's going to be refreshing for like a lot of people thinking that, because you would think as a normal like Joe Schmo guy, a female fighter would probably want to date like a male fighter because they just can relate to each other a lot more. No, you're like, no. Why not? Do female fighters in general date male fighters a lot? I've seen a lot of, well, at least on the MMA side, a lot of female fighters dating male MMA fighters.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of that is proximity, right? So a lot of that is like you're in the gym with people every day, and that's what you basically have access to and what you're around, and there's a comfortability there. And, you know, obviously when you get to know someone, it's easier to kind of fall into a relationship with them. Again, it's the thing about like training camp and stuff, right? Like if your pool is this big, it's easy to find somebody in that pool. And I think that often that's the thing. I think I'm also, personally, I'm a bit of an anomaly within that world. So I think I fall less into the, like that. I do very well speaking for myself. I am not sure that I do very well speaking for all women fighters.
Yo, yes, you. Thank you so much for watching this video, and make sure to subscribe for more videos of your favorite fighters over here on Fight Up TV, and give us a follow online as well at Fight Up TV on Twitter and on Instagram. We appreciate it, guys.